Good morning. Now, I know a lot of you do not like transplanting your tomatoes. Yes, this is something that I know about you. Many people would rather just plant their tomatoes out in the garden and have it done with. But the problem with that is that if you live in a climate like mine, they're just not going to produce for a long time. You'll be getting tomatoes in September instead of in late July. So I want to show you an easy way to only have to transplant your tomatoes one time, and that is when you put them in the garden. So you're going to plant them in a pot that you can keep them in the entire time, except you're also going to take care of their roots. Now, the roots of a tomato plant, or any plant, when they're starting, they need very loose soil to start with. But then they get to the next stage and they want some nutrient in their soil. Now, that loose soil that you've provided initially probably won't have the nutrient content that they need to thrive a little bit later. So I'm going to show you how to just do this one time. We will put them into one pot that you can then eventually take and transplant out into your yard. So I'm going to suggest that you start with something kind of tall. And I'm going to suggest a yogurt container. The reason I suggest a yogurt container is they are, well, they're free. And they are also deep. If you're going to plant this thing and you want it to stay in one pot the whole time that it's in your basement or in your window or wherever you're going to try and grow it, then you're going to want something tall, because you want to be able to create as much of a root system as possible for this tomato plant before it goes out into the yard. But anyway, so you start with a yogurt container, but you're going to want to put some holes in the bottom of this. If you have other tall pots, you can use them, but this is a good one to start with. And like I say, it's free. You don't have to go out and buy anything you probably don't already have, unless, like me, you are making your own yogurt. So I still have some of these, though, because we also buy yogurt from the store. I hate to burst your bubble on that one, but sometimes I just don't have time. I try to make at least a couple quarts a week. Sometimes that's still not enough. So anyway, here I'm going to drill a few holes in the bottom of this, and then we will get started and talk about the soil. Now that we've got our pot, we are going to fill this pot to probably up to about 1.5 inches from the top with good quality indoor potting mix. Now, this isn't seed starting mix, and we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to start filling it up with potting mix, and then above that, that's where we're going to put our seed starting mix. All right, so here I have a little bit of indoor potting mix. This is going to settle a little bit. But as you can see, I filled it up to about 1.5 inches from the top. All right, now we're going to take our seed starting mix. The seed starting mix, that's the lighter mix that the seeds are going to be able to really spread their roots in to begin with, okay? Now, as you can see, this seed starting mix, this is very light. And I make this out of peat moss, some eggshells to help get it back to neutral or more of a neutral pH from the peat moss, which tends to be a little on the acid side. I also use some vermiculite, which is also a light, very fluffy kind of water holding medium. And then I use, obviously some water. I also, this year I threw in some magnesium powder. I don't know, maybe it's not even necessary, but I thought I'd give it a little extra boost with that. So, but that's totally unnecessary. The seed starting mix is that I made, and this isn't saying this is the best seed starting mix in the world, but this is 8 quarts of peat moss, and that's after I've really fluffed it up. After I've fluffed up the peat moss, if it's compacted, you have to kind of, you know, break it up. So 8 quarts of that, 2 tablespoons of eggshells, 1 tablespoon of magnesium powder, totally optional. Eggshells are also kind of optional, but the eggshells I've already blended in a coffee grinder, so those are, or actually in this case, this year I used a blender, made it into a powder. So it's powdered eggshells. And 2 quarts of vermiculite, and 2.5 quarts of water mixed in slowly. And so anyway, it makes a really nice, fluffy, loose mix that your tomato seeds are going to be able to root in really well. So that is going to go in another about another inch or so on the top of this. All right. So now I pre-watered all of this. I will add a little bit of water right now, just to, you know, help give the seeds an extra little. The seed. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 3 seeds in here. The reason I'm doing 3 is because I don't want failure. I'm using all of this space to grow something, so I don't want failure. Now, I am not suggesting that you grow 3 tomatoes in this pot. I'm suggesting you start 3 seeds, and then I'm suggesting that you have the strength of character to remove up to 2 of those and just leave the strongest one in this pot. When you remove them, you might change your mind about how much you don't like repotting things, and you might decide to take those extra 1 or 2 tomato plants and repot them in another pot. But you don't have to. You can just throw them away. Seeds, tomato seeds are cheap, but the space that you're using to grow this is not cheap. And many of us don't have a whole lot of space under our grow lights. So anyway, it's a good idea to plant 3, as much as it might pain you to execute 2 of those plants. But have strength and do it when the time is right. So I'm going to choose what tomato I want to plant in here. So I've got so many different choices of tomatoes, and if anybody needs tomato seeds, you know, please go to the foodforestgardenclub.org website and use the contact form there, and just let me know, because I've got a whole bunch of different varieties. I mean, you know, so do I want to plant a cherry tomato? I've got several varieties of those. There's the opaco, which is a horn-shaped tomato. The Amish paste, which obviously is a paste tomato. Aussie, which is that's a deep red, large deep red tomato. Lucky Cross, which is one of my favorite, which is a bicolor. It's yellow and red, sort of a variegated, beautiful tomato. Maybe that's the one I'm going to plant, but I think I might have already planted a few of those elsewhere. So I think today we are going to plant something a little unusual, and that is a white Tomasol tomato. It's a very pale tomato. I haven't grown this one in the past. I just have so many seeds. So like I say, if you need tomato seeds, if you liked any of those varieties that I mentioned, let me know. I might be able to drop some, just depending on how many I've got. We've got more Japanese black pear, purple Russian, indigo rose, which is a very popular one, Caro Rich, which is very high in vitamin C. So many different varieties. All of these are heirloom varieties. I don't have the space to plant all of them. So anyway, we're going to go with a white Tomasol because I haven't planted that one before. I'm kind of excited to see what those tomatoes look like. All right. So then it's really, you know, this is not rocket science here. What you want to do is just, I'm going to use a pencil. I'm going to make 3 small holes. You know, before I do this, I'm going to water it because once you've got them in there, it's always a little touchy. So I'm going to add some water to this. It's already been pre-watered, but I want the top layer to have enough water to get these things going. All right. And then I won't have to water it so much from the top for a while. I may just water it from the bottom because it's already pretty damp in here. So I'm going to poke 3 holes, and really not too deep. You know, just a little deeper than maybe about a. I'm going to go about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. It doesn't even have to be that deep, but we're going to go with that. So we're just tossing in these seeds into the holes. Like I say, this is straightforward. We'll cover them up. Just covering up those holes, and we are almost ready. But here's what's really important now. Well, until these things sprout, it's probably not quite as important, but once these things sprout, you are going to want to give them lots of light. Lots of light. And this is where people fail. Instead of getting really nice, thick tomato stalks, if you don't give it enough light, you're going to get this scraggly thing that's going to reach and reach and reach because it's trying to find the light. And you know, if you've got a scraggly tomato, it's desperately trying to find more light, which means you're not providing enough. And that's your job as a seed starter. So here's what I have for a setup right now that works really well. I got this panel here, which I use for some of my plants, but I also have some 4-foot old school, they used to be fluorescent light fixtures, and I retrofitted them for LED light bulbs. So that is how you do your transplanting just once. Simplifies your process. You don't have to do what I do, which is now I'm going to take these, I'm going to spread them out into multiple pots, and you know, going to spend a nice morning in the basement doing some gardening stuff. But if you don't enjoy doing that, then kind of one and done, that might be the way to go with it. And then you're going to want to use a method like this. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful and maybe gave you another idea of how to simplify your spring seed starting process. Look forward to hopefully seeing you more on this channel, so please subscribe. It's also an easy way to get in touch with me is through the foodforestgardenclub.org website, through the contact page or the contact form on that website. You can go there, and if you want some of my tomato seeds, just drop me a note. I'm always happy to send some out. Those will fit into a very, very small envelope, and I can get some out to you. If you get in touch with me soon enough, I'll get some out to you, and you still have time to start them for this coming spring. All right. I look forward to talking with you soon. Please thumbs up, leave comments. Let me know, do you have any other secrets that you want to share about making the whole seed starting business with tomatoes just a little bit easier for those people who don't want to spend a whole lot of time transplanting? All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day.